Hi, and welcome to this recording with Tiffany Argent. Thank you for joining me. I'm Debbie Airey, and I've got some questions for you, Tiffany, about health and safety. How are you doing today?
I'm all good. I'm waiting for the next heat wave, so still trying to stay cool. But no, looking forward to chatting about safety and being a woman in safety. It's gonna be fun.
Brilliant. Before we start, let's go back to the start of the career.
Yeah.
How did you find your way into health and safety?
Well, I was one of those ones that fell into it.
Yes.
So I'm a scientist as a background, so research scientist after I left school, and then I started having children, and
Yeah.
then there was an opportunity after my first child when I came back to work in the labs. They said, "Well, look, we need a health and safety person." And we said, "We'll train you up and all that kind of stuff, and it'll be part time, and it'll be more money you're on now." I said, "Well, yeah, I'll do it." So that's basically how I got into it. And then I realized I quite enjoyed it. I liked being able to keep people safe. I wanted to always look after people. But I was going to be no good as a nurse because I didn't like blood and guts and stuff. And being a teacher, I wasn't quite sure on that one with children. So being a health and safety professional just kind of seemed to fit my skill set. So yeah, I worked in the labs, as a health and safety person, learnt kind of cut my teeth there. And so this is in the early noughties. So I'd had a bit of a career before coming into safety. So having that knowledge as well, and then building that as we moved through the career, that's basically how I got into it. There was an opportunity. It paid more, so I took it.
Well, why not? And why not? And have you found some specific challenges along the way?
Definitely. I think, having done this for, 20 odd years now, I think the role has changed significantly. So going in as a health and safety professional, I think the scope has kind of opened my eyes a bit. It changed every job that I moved into, or even within a role, it was like, well, can you do quality? Because it's kind of like auditing and stuff. Can you do the quality stuff? And can you do environment now? Because that fits in, because it's like, can you learn about well-being and what that means? And maybe could you do a bit of security and facilities as well? So it's just like the scope of the role, I think, has been quite diluted over the years. It's just because you have to either become like a jack of all trades, rather than the master of health and safety. But still, for me, that's where my passion lies, is the pure health and safety roles. Being able to help people go home the same way they got here to work. And those are the kind of challenges that I've seen, is just being able to expected to do everything, because there's either nobody else there to do it, they haven't got the skill set, or, they think it could just, well, you don't do a lot in safety, do you? So you can do this as well. So I got that a lot at the beginning. Well, yeah, well, you could probably still fill your day with some environment stuff or some, well-being. And to be fair, I think well-being is definitely part of a health and safety person's role, as the health part. So I was very interested in that, especially during COVID times, to learn more about that and how we can help people mentally stay well as being safe in the workplace. So yeah, I think that's what I've seen as a surprising challenge. Also in the fact that I find it's quite an isolating role. You're quite isolated in what you do. I mean, I work from home now, but even still, when you were in the office, it was, it's health and safety, and not people would scatter. And it's just like, oh no, I'm not one of those health and safety people. I used to tell them, I'm not one of them. So, I'm not a clipboard person that will go around and wag fingers. I'm not your mum, I'm not here to try and, teach you to be better in that aspect of it. But it is quite isolating, because you're always a subsidiary, in my experience, of another department. You're either HR, HR can look after health and safety, or you can report into facilities. There was never there wasn't, that aspect of, being part of a team. You had to kind of make your own. And I feel I've done okay with that, but using external sources. So being a member of IOSH was definitely a way of feeling less isolated. And being a mentor, love doing that, speaking to other women who, you know, want to develop. And not just women, I did have mentored some men as well. And the women in safety groups, being able to network, even, you know, recruiting networks as well. Not that you're always looking for a role, but it's nice to have those contacts within those opportunities and events. So that's how I've tried to stay less isolated. And
I wonder why companies, do you know, in my experience, they've done that as well, where they've put health and safety as part of another thing. Instead of it reporting directly into the board or some form of role like that, it's reported into another business, which for me is a conflict of interests, especially when it's part of operations or part of a function like that. So I don't know why organisations do that. It seems like a missed opportunity to me.
I could be very pessimistic and say I don't think they understand, or they've forgotten the importance of health and safety.
There's a question around what it's been like to be a woman in those environments in that career. Has that helped? Has it added to the challenge in some cases? How have you felt about that?
Definitely in the early days, I think, of being in the position, because I've worked in very male-orientated industries, so manufacturing, logistics, science maybe was quite split. But I think having children was definitely it sounds awful because I love my children. I love my two girls. They've, you know, I wouldn't swap them for anything in the world. But I do think that back then having children did slow down my career and did hinder it. I even had a person once tell me that I wasn't going to be promoted to a health and safety manager because I couldn't commit enough time to the business because I was more focused on my children. Okay. Because I was because I was 5 minutes late every morning, even though I worked an hour afterwards, but I was 5 minutes late every morning, which I'd agreed with my manager at the time, because to drop the children off and then get to work, there was always traffic or whatever. And I was told, well, why don't you leave earlier? Well, I can't leave earlier because that's when the childcare opens. Well, why can't your husband do it? I went, I'm a single mum. I don't have a husband to do that. So
did they expect you to just put your kids in like a little lock-up until
that's what I said. I said, leave them on the doorstep and just wait for someone to show up, you know.
Like get some lockers.
So I definitely experienced that glass ceiling. Definitely experienced that. But I think it's great that it has changed so significantly from what I see with other women coming in that I've spoken to. That's totally changed. I think if somebody had said that now to somebody, that person would no longer be working with the business. Do you know what I mean? It would be
spontaneously combust, don't they, on the spot?
They would. Yeah, absolutely,
and quite rightly so as well, by the way.
Yes, most definitely. But that's the kind of thing that I think at the beginning you either you had to put up or shut up. You know, it's that kind of, well, I need the job because I need to look after it. So I'll just go, okay, right, I'll see what I can do. I'll try and come in that 5 minutes earlier. But yeah, I think, but within that business, there were people that were like, Tiff, it's 5 minutes. You always work after. So it's just a box ticking exercise. I think they had to go through or whatever it was. So even within the same business, there were people that were sympathetic as such, or noticed that I was still doing the role, even though I had two children to look after.
It's almost like just because you've had kids doesn't define whether you're good at your job or not. But in those cases, it is. Yeah, it's really strange. It's strange to think about it now, but I remember being back in the day when that would have been a thing.
Yeah, and even today, I took. It got to a point, I think, where I was working for £10 a week. It just wasn't worth me working, so I left for 2 years to be a full-time mum and then they went to school. And having to explain that now, 20 odd years later on my CV, why is there a gap in your CV? I feel like going, why do you think? You know,
and they shouldn't actually be asking.
Yeah,
by the way,
I'm a 51-year-old woman. Do you not maybe think it could have been children or illness? It could have been anything, but they still ask that. You know, why is there a gap in what did you do during your time off? I brought up two children that are now adults, you know, that that's, I kept them alive and survived. And I did also study at the same time. During that period, I studied for my, diploma. And, that's, but why am I explaining myself? But that's still now in 2026.
Yeah. Oh, they shouldn't be asking you that.
But it still happens. It still happens.
I think you should be celebrated. We should just stop for a moment and celebrate the fact you kept kids alive and studied and came back into it. So yeah. I think you're a legend. I think you're a legend.
It's not a big deal. It's what I needed to do. And as I say, my girls are everything. And that's why I had to go back to, yes, I love the job most of the time, like everybody. And I love what I do. But that's the reason why I do it is because I am a mum. And I think that passion behind what I do to do it well is to kind of also show that my girls, not that you can do it all, because that's so 80s, isn't it? So, you can be a mum and go back to work and look after the house and feed the husband and, all this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But it's exhausting, but you just get on with it.
Yeah.
You just have to get on with it. And that's why I think one of the things is, building that resilience is something that, and again, I hate really to mention it, but it's the generational thing. The Gen Xers have built that resilience up because we just had to get on with it. We, as women, we've gone through everything from, we had, notes written on a piece of paper to now we've got AI and we've had to learn the whole lot. I love this. I said, we had to buy everything on vinyl, then we had to buy it on cassette, then CD, then MP4 players, and now it's all streaming. It's like, oh my God, we've spent a fortune on just downloading music. But I think that the younger generations coming in, I feel we've paved that way for them.
Yeah. But
sometimes it's kind of because they weren't there. So they weren't there, man.
They weren't there. You don't know because you weren't there. Because you weren't there. Because you can't handle the truth.
Because women like us had to go through that crap.
Do you know what you've just reminded me of? Do you remember the first was it the MP4 Nano or the MP3 Nano, the little one? I remember getting that the first time and figuring out how to do it, which took me hours. And by the time I'd finished it, I actually thought I was a radio DJ.
Oh,
just because I could download stuff. I thought I was doing
it.
And then promptly put it through the washing machine.
Now, to be fair, my girl, my youngest, she's buying stuff on vinyl. I know it's nothing to do with safety, but she's buying stuff on vinyl and then going through my vinyl collection going, oh, I didn't know you knew who Kate Bush was. I'm going...
It weren't just Stranger Things.
Stranger Things. But do you know what I mean? And I think that comes into the workplace as well, where kind of younger generations and how we've managed and how we now manage people is because we've gone through that.
Yeah.
And so we
figure it out. We figure it out, don't we?
Figure it out. And we're not, this whole, we weren't being patted on the back with a participation medal. You either won or you lost. There was none of that. Well done for showing up. I mean, somebody the other day said, oh, they were putting a raffle for attendance. I went, at work? Oh, what? Yes, it was part of our bonus plan that if you attended every day, you were put into a thing and you... But that's your job. You're supposed to show up every day.
What if I didn't? I'd get the sack. That's the raffle. If you don't, you get the sack. That's the raffle. It's more like Russian roulette.
It is. And I was like going, what? Yeah, well, we're thinking of doing this, and it's like, no, please don't do that, because we pay people to do a job, and this is why they're kind of this younger bits of
contracted to do.
Yeah, and it's that. But again, when you look at contracts and the job descriptions, even within safety, people will come in. There's a job description, very blatant what it is, health and safety advisor. This is your role. They'll come in and go, well, I'm going to manage a budget and I'm going to do this, and I'm going to implement new systems. I'm going, whoa. You've come in as a health and safety advisor.
Easy, tiger.
Yeah. So what those expectations are so high, and that, I've got qualifications. I went, great, but you've got not as much experience to go with it. So you can draw a spanner, but you can't necessarily use one yet. So, that part of going through that part of the career is to build on that and learn from it. And I think that we, I'd love to find a course on managing younger generations, managing how to speak to them, how to manage them. Because as I say, that for me is a minefield.
Do you know what? And I'll put you in touch after this with, unless you've already spoken to Ingenuity, that's exactly what some of the things they're doing.
Right.
I'll put you in touch because it's fascinating.
Do.
Yeah, this whole gap is really interesting, and it's also managing their expectations coming in, and then managing employers' expectations of when they're, because at the moment it can be like a crash of the water. The different, yeah. So it is a thing. It's a thing,
and I don't think it's being really picked up by businesses that it is a thing. And then you have, you know, a generation like, you know, Gen X that are just at that point of going, well, I'm too young to retire and too old to dance on a pole. Do you know what I mean? So we kind of have to stay where we're at. And get through it. Again, it goes back to what it used to be like at the beginning, we're having to just get through it. And I think that for me is a big challenge, especially as a woman, because it does come, you know, sometimes we're strong, we're knowledgeable, we're experienced, and then that can sometimes be a bit intimidating, I think.
Yeah.
And then that doesn't bode well. And that can be with both sexes. It's not necessarily male or female. That can be intimidating for people, but I don't want to dim my light and we shouldn't dim our lights just to placate people that are a bit sensitive. And I know that sounds horrible, but we're in these roles and we've worked as hard to get where we are, and to dim ourselves to placate others. And give them participation medals. I don't think we should have to do that.
No, I know. And that's something that very much falls on women more than it does men.
Definitely.
For lots of different reasons. There's some papers I've done on things like the double burden, and being the only voice, and that type. And the fact that women do think about what they're going to say before they've even said it, because they're not only thinking about what they're wearing, what they're saying, their tone of voice, and the content almost comes last, because they're worrying about how it's going to make the male counterpart feel in that moment. And then we'll often dim what we're saying just to make them feel more comfortable, because we've kind of been brought up that way to be more forgiving and nurturing. And that's not, that's not right.
Yeah.
It's not okay.
I have seen a couple of these podcasts with Heather, and I think there was somebody's going, well, women, because we're more empathetic. I'm going, oh, I don't think I am. I'm like, well, if you've hurt yourself, lick it, you'll be fine. You know,
put a wet paper towel on it.
Wet paper towel on it. Exactly. It fixed us with me. Do you know? And again, I don't, because I know that, you know, even the generation older than us had to go through a hell of a lot more than we did, from a work perspective. But women were at home all the time. That was their job. They were homemakers. You know, there are very few, that would go out to work and build a career, because that wasn't deemed as it was. And I think because we know women aren't having children early in their 20s anymore, they're waiting a lot longer. And they're saying that, you know, more and more aren't having children because they don't want to, or they're, you know, financially, or whatever their choice is, which is, again, absolutely fine, but they haven't got that additional thing to do when they go home. You know, with the last couple of hours of work, you're thinking, right, what am I making for tea? Have I got the school stuff ready? What am I doing for lunches tomorrow? Is the house clean and hoovered? As well as, has that person read their risk assessment? Has that new strategy that I've brought out actually landing? Have I said that thing to the right person? Have I influenced well enough in here? And I think that's why imposter syndrome is such a thing, because you just get to the point going, well, I surely can't be good at what I'm doing because I can't do it all. I can do some well. And again, the priority is always going to be kids. And that's what's going, well, maybe I'm not good enough at work. Maybe I shouldn't be in this role. Maybe I shouldn't apply for that role because there's a couple of bits in it I can't do, because you are constantly on it.
And you touch on something there, you know, because you touch on the housework, but also the housework that's a hidden part of the job that's often assigned to the woman and not the man. And that is the emotional burden that we carry at work. Things like like you said, have I said that in the right way? Have I mentored? We're not often, it's not always given that we're a mentor at work.
No.
Often it's just assumed. And it's even the remembering someone's birthday, writing that, that sort of stuff. And, can you just go and check on Susie because I think she's having a bad day? Those type of things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's where it's like, well, because you're a woman, you're more empathetic, you'll be better at that.
Yeah.
And that isn't in my skill set. To be fair, I'm rubbish at it.
Mine either, but it shouldn't be assumed.
And I think that's what it is. Yeah. It's assumed.
Yeah. Assumed labour. That's what it is.
Yes,
that's
for
the
sure.
word.
Definitely, for sure.
Yeah, you touch on that. That's actually a really important part of this, because also when women are going into health and safety, if they've already seen this, is that a barrier? They might look at it and go, don't fancy that. Yeah. And you mentioned earlier as well about IOSH. Would you say these have been like mentors from afar, or mentors that have been quite close for you?
No, I watched them from afar, I think.
Yeah.
Carly, I was on the IOSH council with, and we were kind of just on the overlap. So the last meeting that we had, the last meeting that I was on council for, we kind of had some good conversations then. It's like, oh, you should be on the council more. And it's just like, because we get stuff done.
Yeah.
We're kind of doers.
I was just going to say that, doers.
Rather than just kind of like, I'm trying, again, words fill out my head.
I know what you mean though, rather than just kind of talking about it.
Talking about it and going, oh, we could do this and we could do that. No, right, let's make a decision and get stuff done. Let's stop procrastinating. That was the word. So let's stop procrastinating and do stuff. Yeah. So, and I think that's what, you just think, oh, could I have done more? Or can I do more? Yeah. But then have I got the energy to do more? Yeah. Have I got the inclination to do more? Am I just going to have another wall I'm banging my head against, or unappreciated for what we do? And it's just like, well, we can't do that right now. Or, what does that mean? I don't understand it. And then explaining it again, those kind of pieces. So maybe what concerns me is that they don't burn out. Because they are doing so much really good stuff. Just they've got a long way to go. And I see this now as like, there's a long way to go, I think.
Is that the advice you'd give to women joining the health and safety community as well, is don't burn out?
I had to go to hospital because they thought I'd had a stroke. And the guy went, no, I know.
Tiffany.
Well, I hadn't. Thankfully. But I've never been ill before. And it's not a badge that I wear with pride. I talk about it because it's important that other people get it. Pushing yourself under so much pressure to do everything can make you ill.
Yes. And I've been there. Do
you know what I mean? It's like, it wasn't
it's no problem. Right. It's back on again. It's absolutely fine. It's no problem. What advice would you give? And I think, burnout is a big one. And getting burnout so massive.
Because I don't think people realise it. Because I think I said to the in the hospital, I said to the doctor, I said, I just do my job. I look at the kids, and he went, well, do you, said, what job do you do during COVID? And I said, well, health and safety. And he went, we've had a few of you guys in. Like, oh my God, really?
Wow.
Yeah. So people were struggling. And then I've now got, it's not worth it. It's not worth working. I'll work my hours and I'll do the job, but I'm not going to be answering emails at 9 o'clock at night and reading additional stuff and, traveling outside of work hours. That was one thing. I used to get up at like 4 a.m. to be somewhere for 9. And it's like, and then do a full day's work, crash out at a hotel, do another day's work, and then drive home that evening. It was so tiring. And it was like, I'm not doing this anymore. I'm not prepared to do that. So I've been really conscious that I work within my means. I work within my hours. I get my work done. I keep people safe when I can. And if there is an emergency, don't get me wrong. For example, worst case scenario, I'm touching wood because I'm in a shed. It's my shed. Touch wood that I never have to go. Somebody's died on site. I have to go. and just shoot up at whatever time. I've never had to deal with that. But if I had to, I would. And that's the only exception for the rule, is only if it was very significant that I was required for support.
And I wonder if, because you've got the confidence almost to say that now, or you have got the confidence, even though sometimes,
that took time to build up those that one little word of going no. To be able to say no was really hard, because then you'd think, oh, she can't do it because she's a mom, or she's a woman, or she's got other stuff to do, or whatever. Whereas now it's just like, no, I put my boundaries out. And maybe that's an age thing, and I'm hoping that the younger generations coming in do learn that word, but in a good way. Use it productively. Don't become obtuse of saying no to everything and being very defensive on everything, but be open and flexible to a point where it's, you let people know where your boundaries are. Don't just say yes to everything unless you're super excited and you've got nothing else to do. Yeah. Do what you need, but you can say no. And I think, as I say, one of the bits of advice I would definitely say is, to new people coming into the profession, is be innovative, be curious, be creative.
Oh, I love that. You finish strong, Tiffany.
Ain't my first rodeo, Debbie.
And if it was, we'd do a risk assessment for it.
Yes, most definitely. But no, I just think, a lot of people coming in do have that qualification, because they are easy. Again, people will probably bait me for this, but they are easier to get. People are going to, companies are easier to invest in that. They didn't exist when I was first started out. Whereas now, so many providers of courses, Compassa for their NEBOSH is amazing if you haven't seen that one. But, you had like a choice of like 2 or 3 providers to be able to get you that qualification. Whereas they're super easy to find people to help you do that now. So they'll have the qualification, but learn to use that spanner. Be humble when you go into a workplace. Learn the business. Don't just go, I know, right? Because I made that mistake at the very beginning. I've got my NEBOSH. I know what to do. It's like, no, you haven't got a clue. I knew how to draw a spanner, but as I said, I couldn't use it. Being able to understand the workplace and being curious about, so why, I know a lot of people don't like it. Why do we do that? What's that button for? What happens if I do this? Find out about those processes. Be curious about what people are doing. Don't go in spouting legislation. Don't go in saying I'm the qualified person. And having things like, I'm not doing admin. That's below me. I have a diploma. Do it. Find out how the admin system works. Fix it. Be innovative with it. Yes, there is a lot of admin in safety, as there is in a lot of.
There is. Yeah.
So make it easier. Find out how you can make that admin easier. Always have a friend in IT. But with AI coming in, it's not going to take our jobs, but it's going to make them easier. Yeah. For sure. So we can then actually be creative and find out new ways of keeping people safe.
Yeah.
Learning how to influence senior leaders when there's this new idea that's coming, this new technology or this new piece of kit that will make us safer. Our hardest job is demonstrating return on investment. So be creative with that. How can we demonstrate that this is actually going to be worth the money? Not just from a financial and a legislative perspective, but that moralistic. We want businesses to do things because they want to keep people safe. Not just the safety person going, oh, we should do this. I think this is a really good idea. Going, oh, it costs too much money and we'll do the bare minimum because that's what legislation states. Let's do it moralistically. Let's look after the workforce. There's so many advantages on that. But yeah,
it's coming from a supplier's point of view into safety, that's a best salesperson would always work with the health and safety person to figure out how to make it cost effective, how to sell the ROI back so that the health and safety person could then sell that back into the business to show savings or, as you said, the values of the business. And that is so true. And you'll always find that a safety person is really willing to have those conversations because they want to do this. They want to make those changes. Well, Tiffany, I think that's it in a nutshell. Thank you so much for joining me twice.
Apologies
so
for the
good.
technical stuff.
No, I love it. You were so good. We did it twice. There you go. So good. We did it twice. I love this.
Love it, Debbie.
Really appreciated speaking to you today. It's been wonderful. I hope you have a lovely Friday evening.
Thank you very much.
Whatever is in your plans, and I'm definitely going to link in with you. I'm stealing all of Heather's friends right now, so I'm going to.
And why not? And why not? And I'm looking forward to seeing Heather's book when it comes out, or reading.
Me too. It's going to be good. It's going to be good. Right, you
awesome.
Take care of yourself.
Thanks a lot,
you so
Debbie.
much for your time
today.
Have a
good one. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.